Maintenance Management, Block 4, Issue in Maintenance Management, Unit 14, Maintenance Audit. So let's understand what are the objective of today's sessions and what are the content of today's sessions. So the objective of today's sessions, first one is understands the importance of maintenance audit towards continuous improvement. The second one, understand the methodologies of maintenance audit. The third objective we have, identify the key result area, which is shortly known as KRA, that are to be analyzed while carrying out a maintenance audit. And the last one, we have explained the maintenance audit process. So in this particular session, we have to understand the fundamental aspect of maintenance audit and how to go for continuous improvement. Then we have to understand the methodology of maintenance audit and what are the key areas where the coordination go for or the that is known as agencies go for analyzing the audit, especially in reference to maintenance audit. And the last one is we have to understand the maintenance audit process. Moving to next one. So these are the content of today's sessions. The first one is introduction about maintenance audit. Then we have to understand the type of audit. Then we have to understand the importance of maintenance audit. Then methodologies of maintenance audit. The next we have studied the key result area with reference to maintenance audit. And we have to take the case studies about a maintenance audit of a specific companies. So these are the content of today's sessions. So first, before going to this particular maintenance audits, we have to understand what are the overview of audit. So if you goes to the fundamental definition of audit, audit is a independent examination of financial or operational information of an entities to ensure accuracies, compliance, and reliabilities. The second point is that all these audits are enacted by the law to safeguard the right of different type of stakeholders of an organization like shareholder, employees, customers, and the public, etc. And third point, it can be well recognized that without such regular audit, it would become difficulty to identify the problem in advance for corrective actions. So if you goes to the fundamental definition, it's basically deals with the independent examination of financial measures or maybe operational measures to provide or to ensure accuracies, compliance, and reliabilities. And the second important part is it is for different type of audit should be enacted by the law to provide the safeguard to various stakeholder of organizations, employees of organization, customer of organization, even it is also applicable to the publics. And the next important part is that if you not implement the regular audit inside your organization, it is very difficult to identify for that is known as implement the corrective actions, which is basically essential for the organization. That is why audit is mandatory, applied for maintain higher side of accuracies. The next important part is that is known as for compliance, and especially reference to maintenance, it provides reliabilities. And the next important part is you can automatically enhance the maintenance performance specific to the productions and as well as for improve the quality of goods by the company sides. So if you goes to the other definition as far as concerned with audit, it is the process, or if you goes to point number one in this particular PPT, that systematic examinations and assessment of entities, especially reference to financial record, operation, and processes, and it is conducted by the independent professionals. Audit aim to ensure the compliances. We have already told that it basically compliances with the established standard, then accuracies and reliability in case of financial information. So next important point, audit is a process that helps to identify the discrepancies, errors or fraud, providing stakeholder with assurance regarding the entities of financial health. So whenever you talk about the maintenance audit, in that case, a company invests large amount of capital for purchase of machines, equipment, spare parts, assignment of tools, and if the cost is rapidly rise day by day, in that cases, company goes to a losses project organizations. So that is why audit should be mandatory implemented for continuous assessment and systematic examinations of financial measure as well as for operational measure, or you can say that it known as for process measures. So third important point, audit are integral for transparencies, risk management, maintaining integrity of financial reportings. Skilled individuals known as auditors perform these evaluations, offering valuable insights for information or informed decision makings and accountabilities. So most of the cases, if you observe in case of that known as financial audit or operational audit, a specially skilled person is simply known as auditors. So he performs its evaluations of various criteria depending upon the different parameter of maintenance, and he provides the that is known as valuable insight for decision making. Those decision making is accountable by the company side for improve for advanced corrective actions. So this is the overview of your audit. Moving to next important part. The next important part is that is known as objective of audit. So objective of audit is basically verify the accuracy of financial statement. The next is detect and prevent the fraud or error. The third one is ensure compliance with law, regulations, and internal policies. And the last important point we have improve control and processes. So most of the cases, if you observe in case of audit, is classified into two parts. One is primary and the second one is subsidiaries. So under primary, we will go for investigating or examining financial statements, then evaluation of operations or organizational operations, then ensure the legal regulations, and the last one is evaluate the effectiveness. And in case of subsidiaries, we will go for detections and prevention of errors, detection and prevention of frauds, under an overstock valuation should be done under the subsidiaries. So if you goes to the other objective of your audit, it basically go for external audit or maybe internal audit. Some cases it should be go for the classification of regulars forensic audit, statutory audit, financial audit, tax audit, and special audit. So these are the classes or classification of types of audit. So we'll go for the basic objective of audit. So if you go for financial statement, as I told in the previous slide, maintenance department is very much known as labor as well as cost intensive departments. So costs directly related to purchase of spare parts, tools, advanced that is known as machines or flexible machine or maybe sophisticated machines. So being a top level of management, it is mandatory to conduct the audit, and through the audit they will go for examining the financial statements of various purchase order related to equipment as well as machines or sub-assembly or maybe tools. So this is one part under the primary. The second important part is evaluation, organization, operations. So if you goes to the fundamental definition of operation, operations is basically convert or conversion process, which basically convert the input into desirable output. So company invests large amount of money for the recognized operational equipment and processes. So if the output is not up to the levels, for example, a steel company go for operational activities and that steel plant is not producing good quality of steels, that means the entire organization operational process must be conduct audit so that they can automatically increase the quality of product or services. So that is why evaluate the organizational operation is directly dedicated to entire process that should be properly audited. This is the one of the next or maybe the second most important objective under the audit classified, that is known as primary audit. The next one is ensure legal regulations. For example, a company is want to implement ISOs. A company is want to implement environmental management system. So if your equipments or your that is known as surrounding environment is not properly regulated, so that should be harmful for the that is known as unhealthy conditions for the operational activities. So that is why audit basically ensures the legal regulations which is implemented inside as well as outside the organization. The next one is evaluate effectiveness. So as I know that a skilled person who is known as auditor or a team of auditor is basically evaluate the certain amount of criteria. For example, in case of maintenance, they will go for various amount of machine parameters, process parameter, operational activity or operational parameter need to be evaluated. In case of financial, they will go for various amount of fund flow, which is basically done through the stakeholders or maybe that is known as in case of the top level of management, that should be properly evaluated. So this is all about the basic objective behind the primary audit. The next one is subsidiaries audit. So that means they have to detect or detections and prevention of errors. So it is applied to the process where they have to identify various amount of errors, and that errors should be properly eliminated from the process. This is one kind. The second one is detection and prevention of frauds. So it is directly deal with financial frauds or tax, which is basically conduct under the tax audit or financial audit. So if you find any kind of that is known as fraud in case of purchase of machines or that is known as purchase of various equipments, that need to be communicated to the next level of management so that they can easily eliminate the person or maybe the that known as department to rectify the advanced control of actions. The last one is under and overstock valuation. So as far as concerned with that is known as internal audit, it is need to be verify the stock level. So if you go for excess amount of stock, so that directly impact upon the entire production activities. So these are the basic objective of your audit. I repeat, we have primary audit and we have subsidiary audit. Moving to next one. The next one we have that is known as audit process. So in case of audit process, it's typically involve four main stages. The first one is planning, the second one is field work, the third one is reportings, and the third last one that is follow-up. So we'll understand what are the different aspects of planning, field work, reporting, and follow-up. So if you go for audit process, it ensures the accuracies, reliability of informations, often focusing on the financial statement or other specific area within an organization. So by implementing the four phases of audit process, if it goes for first phases in case of planning, it basically includes entrance meetings, then management interviews, risk assessment, audit scope, and timings determined should be involved in case of planning. So in case of meetings should be conducted by different level of managements, and the management interview should be done by the auditors, and they will go for risk assessment, and finally they will provide the audit scope and timing determinants. So this is all about the planning stage. Then in case of field work, the tests were performed. Second one is documentations request and review should be done. And the third one, we have meeting with the units. So here in case of field work, they'll go for conducting field visits. Specifically, they'll go for conducting various department, and the auditor is visited from department to department, and they will identify the test work performed by the various that is known as workforce levels, and they must verify the documentation request and review this document for during the audit process, and they also conduct the meeting with the teams, those who are basically involved in case of operation process or that is known as quality related issue process or maybe maintenance management process. The next one is reporting. So in case of exist meetings, so in case of planning, they will go for entrance meeting or initiating the meetings, and in case of reporting, they will basically conduct the exist meeting with the operating management. The next one is draft report insurance. The next is management response obtains, exist meeting with the executive leaderships, final report issues, quality assurance survey should be done. So these reportings during the exist meetings, they will conduct the meeting with the different level of managements, and they will directly make a draft reports, and the draft report again they conduct the exist meeting with the top level of managements, and finally they will go for final report insurance, and they also provide quality assurance surveys throughout the organizations. Last one is that is known as follow-up. So after reportings, the draft follow-up report issuance is basically issues, and these are basically done in case of 6 months after the final report dates. And the next one is management response obtained, final follow-up report issuance, and quarterly follow-up memos should be released, and all the issue closed within 18 days. So this is the entire process of your audit, which basically start from first month to maximum 1 point that is known as 6 or maybe 1.5 years in case of conducting any kind of audit process. So audit process pass through, I repeat, 4 number of phases: planning phases, field work phases, reporting phases, and the follow process. But whenever you go for that is known as simple, that is known as audit process, that will start for that is known as letter of understandings. If you observe this particular figures, they will conduct during the meantime of audit. They have the letter of understandings. Then entry meetings should be conducted by the auditors. Then audit query and feedback should be collected. Then they will conduct the exit meeting with the top level of management or executive leaderships, and they'll release the management letters. They'll go for the draft audit report, and final report is submitted for quality assurance service. So these are the that is known as audit process, which is implement any kind of organizations, and if they involve or the auditor is involved in that case, they must pass through this four number of phases. Moving to next one. The next one is what are the basic benefit of audit. The first one we have maintain compliance. Then the second one we have keep your books up to date. Then prevent frauds. Be a business of integrities. Access and mitigate the risks. So these are the common that is known as benefit of audit. So in case of maintain compliance, they maintain higher side of accuracies, higher side of reliabilities, so that the compliance should be integrated among various department and sub-department levels. The next one is documentation must be updated so that these are basically used for the future course of actions. And audit is basically provide the major benefit in case of prevention of fraud, which basically related to maintenance management in case of purchase of sophisticated machines or purchase of what is known as equipments or purchase of any kind of flexible machine. They can restrict the fraud inside the departments. The next is during the audit process, it basically collaborate the number of regional departments. So that reflect the integrity of inside customers, which lead to the organization to a different level in case of product or in case of quality of product. And the last one is audit also access and mitigate the risks. So risks related to your process, risks related to the knowledge, your operational activities, risks related to financial activities, they can mitigate the risks. But if you observe in case of other benefit of audits from legal point of views, they basically includes income tax return filings, financing money from the outside source. The next one is settlement of insurance claim, then payment of sales tax, that action against the bankrupts. These are under the financial point of views, those who have conducted the audits. But in case of internal audit or internal control point of views, they'll go for fast revelation of errors and frauds inside organizations, moral check on the known as personals, advice to the management, infirmities in case of accounts, and in case of external point of views, the basic benefits include settlement of accounts, value of assets and goodwills. Future trends of the business are basically included under the external point of views audits. So these are the common benefits with respect to benefits or advantages of audits. Moving to next one. The next one is, as I told, the today topics or today's session is dedicated for maintenance audits. So first we have to understand what are the basic concept behind maintenance audit. And the next important part is you have to understand the importance of audit and different auditing process with respect to maintenance audits. So if you observe this particular image, maintenance audit is basically focused upon three parameters. The first is the problem area. The second one is improvement opportunities. And the third most important part is strength identifications. So these are the core areas of maintenance audit. So in case of problem area, for example, continuously a company facing large amount of the known as problem with related to any kind of machines. So that area need to be improved through the maintenance audits. So maybe the during the or after the maintenance audits, they'll provide the suggestions to go for replacement of these kind of machines so that they can implement the quality assurance survey inside the organizations. The next one is the maintenance audits also provide the improvement opportunities. As I told the example of one kind of the this machine need to be replacement, and they are also providing the opportunity in case of increase higher side of sustainability for the organization in case of social, in case of environmental, or in case of for the organizational point of views. So as far as concerned with the economic point of view, social point of view, or environmental point of views, if there is any kind of improvement is needed, that should be basically suggested in case of maintenance audit. The next important part is audit also focus the strength identification. For example, a company is throughout last 10 to 15 years producing good quality of product. In that cases, they are basically identify the key strength of the companies through the maintenance audit. So so that the company will need to improve those, or that is known as build up the brand values, build up the qualities assurance programs, so that other can learn from this particular strength identifications. So these are the basic that is known as output of maintenance audits. So before going for other that is known as topic with related to maintenance audit, first we have to understand that maintenance audit is a systematic reviews and evaluation of organization maintenance process. So maintenance process, procedure and performance. And the next important part is the goal is to identify the strength, weaknesses, inefficiencies, area for improvement in order to ensure the equipment reliabilities, minimize the downtime, optimize the known as maintenance cost. So as far as concerned with the maintenance audit, it basically includes the first one is that is define the scope. So under that scope, we have to go for the regulation. If the companies implement or introduce preventive maintenance, inventory control techniques, and they will go for conducting the equipment condition or condition-based monitoring for various equipment. So these are defined in the objective of maintenance audit. The next one is the next objective we have set the audit goals, which basically include the example like compliance. The next important part is cost reductions, and if required, must go for the known as performance improvements. So this is the basic that is known as introduction about maintenance audits. I repeat, it is a systematic review and examination of organization, maintenance process, procedures, and the last one is performance. And they have to identify, maintenance audit is to identify the strength, weaknesses, inefficiency, and area for improvement so that it can reduce the cost. The next one is minimize the downtime and increase the equipment reliabilities. Moving to next one. The next one is types of audit or classification of your maintenance audits. So we have that is known as various type of audits are there. First one we have statutory audit. The second one we have voluntary audit. The third one we have internal audit. This next one we have external audits. Then we have preliminary audit, detailed audits, management audit, and the last one is technical audit. So if you go for the left side of this particular slide, they are dedicated for only maintenance audit. But as far as concerned with the internal auditors, so audits are defined in or classified as the compliance audit. The next is operational audit, information system audit, performance audit, environmental audit, and the last one is special assignment audit should be done. So we have to understand what is the basic concept behind statutory audit. So this audit is required by the law and dictated by the parliament of a particular countries. And some other statutories or semi-statutory organizations like international labor organizations and international standard organizations are basically conducted this statutory audit. Especially if you take the cases of the WHO, World Health Organizations, or the international labor organization are conducting various out of statutory audits. The next one is voluntary audits. So this audit is taken by the organizations of its own interests to identify various amount of fraud, compliances, inefficiencies, performance of the maintenance departments. The next one is if you go for the common type of audit, that is known as internal audit. So audit taken by inter-department or personnel for the companies. For example, process department take the audit for the production department, and production department conduct the audit of quality department. So this is known as internal audit. The next one we have that is known as external audit. So this audit conducted by the external agency. Most of the cases the third party agency is conducted, and it is basically assigned by the companies or company management to identify the problem for improvements. So these are known as external audits. The next one we have preliminary audits. So it is normally conducted for the brief period of time to identify the major thrust problems areas in function and problem solving at later stage. So preliminary audit is basically done in case of department wise. For example, maintenance department for a long period of time they are facing large amount of problems and difficulties in case of production related activities. So they conduct that knowledge in a specific areas to provide the or to identify the problem, and later then they will solve the problem. So this is known as preliminary audits. The next one is detailed audits. So it is carried out to study the complete features and requirement of specific function. For example, maintenance department is a specific function. They will provide the maintenance work to different departments so that the functionality of many machines, many equipment should produce higher efficiency of productions. So in the specific function of maintenance department, then normally that is a team of member conducted the audit for considerable periods. It may be conducted for 7 days, maybe 10 days, or for 1 month, depending upon the top level of management decisions. The next one is management audits. So this audit basically carried out to check and identify the suitableness of the system and procedures of management functions. So how the maintenance team is managed their maintenance activities, they are basically conducted by a group of that is known as executives, and they conducted the various suitabilityness of the system as well as the process of management function. So most of the cases, in case of management audit, the best example are that is known as ISO 9000 for product and service certifications, or you can take the example of ISO 14000 for environmental management systems, or you may conduct it that is ISO 22000 for food and beverage safety. So these are the best example of your management audits. The next one we have that is known as technical audits. So this is the process of study of technical component of plants. So this is most vital the audit which is conducted for maintenance audit. And the next is with or without experimentation and instrument monitoring to identify the improvement of both hardware and software aspects. So there are many sophisticated machines which are basically support of information technologies. So in this technical audit, they'll go for examination and evaluating the software part as well as the hardware part. So this is all about the that is known as technical audit. The next thing, if you go for internal audit point of views, we have that is known as compliance audits. So it basically ensures the compliance with the rules, regulations, law applicable to the company. For example, company working condition is not suitable for the labors. So in that cases, through the assignment of third-party agency, company conducted the compliance audit, which specifically apply to the rules, regulation, law applicable to the company. The next one is operational audit. It ensures the efficient, effective conduct operation of a companies. So it is basically in case of the production and operation management department, and they compose a team who basically conducted the efficient and effective that is operations of the companies. The next one is information system audit to ensure the proper functioning of the information system, or you can simply known as information technologies, throughout the life of the business that should be properly audited. So here they will go for both hardware as well as software part need to be audited. The next one we have performance audit to ensure the efficient use of resources to be obtained the objective of the company. For example, why performance audit should be needed? For example, in case of maintenance management department, they have allocated number of resources, men, machines, and materials in the form of that is known as spare parts. And the basic objective of the maintenance department to ensure the functionalities throughout the machines, throughout the process, throughout the operation, so that company will achieve their objectives in case of maximize profit, enhance the qualities, and last one is satisfy the need of customers. The next important part is environmental audits. So under environmental audit, to ensure the compliance with the environmental law and regulations should be done. So most of the cases ISO 14000, I repeat ISO 14000, which is dedicated for environmental audit. So ISO 14000 stand for Environmental Management System. So if a plant or organization is go for environmental audit, they must go for ISO 14000 certifications. So during the certification program, most of the cases government agency as well as that is known as private agency are conducted the environmental audit with respect to that is known as plant, their disposals, their waste management, everything should be properly compliant with the environmental law and regulations. Last one we have that is known as special assignments. So this kind of audit is related to investigation of fraud and corruptions. So as you know, CBI is basically done the special kind of fraud and corruption. Similarly, in case of organization point of view, this special assignment done by the top level of management to identify the fraud and corruptions which is basically deals with the financial measures and or other special services with the approval of the board or maybe the top level of executives. So these are the classification of maintenance audits. Moving to next one, the next one is importance of maintenance audits. So let's understand why audit is most important part. So if you go to the maintenance audit basics, first one is what is it? So it means a review of your maintenance process and practices as well as the performance. So this is the first point of your maintenance audit. The second, the propose, that means you have to ensure auditor maybe ensure the equipment runs smoothly, reduce the downtimes, and meet the that is known as regulation with respect to production and operation management. The next is what does it? So the third point, it internal teams or external expert like consultant or regulators are conducted maintenance audit. And how often? So it varies scheduled by the organization or maybe announced or maybe surprise from the regulators. So frequency can be increased with the past issue and sub circumstances. So these are the basic of your maintenance audit. So if it goes to the importance of audit lies in its ability to enhance. The first important point is efficiency. The second important point is safety. And the third important part is that is cost effectiveness within the organizations. So this is the three most important pillar of your maintenance audit. I repeat, first one is enhance efficiency, second one is safety, and third one is that is known as cost effectiveness with the organizations. So that is why here we are basically focus upon the key region of maintenance audit, why it is basically essential. The first important point we have that is known as improve equipment reliability. That means you have to minimize unexpected breakdowns and the downtime so that you will go for higher site of production. This is one important reasons to go for maintenance audit. The second important reason we have that is known as reduce the maintenance cost. As far as concerning the maintenance department, these are cost intensive departments. So purchase of spare parts, purchase of tools, purchase of sophisticated machines. So if a company investing for a long amount of period, they must focus upon the ROI, return on investments. So as far as concerning the maintenance department, the top level of management also invest large amount of money. So it is their duties, they must conduct the maintenance audit to minimize the first important part is the energy and utility losses or waste. The next is they have to identify inefficiency in case of number of downtime is increased. The next is number of breakdown is increased, and they have to invest large amount of money for that known as improve the skill of operators. So the next important that is known as region that is known as reduce the maintenance cost means you have to minimize the energy waste or utility waste, and the next important part is you have to reduce that is known as inefficiency in the maintenance management departments. The third one we have that is known as enhance the decision making. So by the help of this maintenance audit, one of the most important area for criteria for improvement. So whenever you conduct the maintenance audit, it provides the that is known as criteria for align the maintenance goals with the organization objectives. So what is the maintenance goals? Reduce the downtimes, meet the regulations, run or equipment should be run very smoothly so that maximum production should be achieved and higher quality of the device quality should be enhanced in case of product. So the next important part we have that is ensure compliance and safety. So whenever you think about the maintenance, so safety is the next second most important pillar of the maintenance audit. So it should be verified adhere industry in case of industry standards. So most of the cases, only few amount of industry in India they are implementing that is known as ISO 18,000 certification. So ISO 18,000 certification is dedicated for occupational safety and health assurance system for the employees who are dedicatedly work for providing the maintenance inside the organizations. So whenever you conduct the maintenance audit, the safety is most important pillar for your maintenance management. So that is why those organizations who have certified with OSHA, so O stand for occupational, A stand for safety, A stand for health, and A stand for assurance certification. So the next regions we have that is known as promote continuous improvement. So in case of continuous improvement, they have to implement the PDCA cycles. So P stand for plan, D stand for do, C stand for check, and A stand for act cycles. So this PDCA cycle is implemented for the maintenance department for continual improvement in case of maintenance audit or maintenance related issues. The next one is support asset management, and the last one is evaluate the staff performance and training needed. So these sevens are the main reason in case of the known as maintenance audits. Moving to next one. The next one is why this how so what do the maintenance audit examine. So if you goes to the first important part, the first important that is known as part basically focus upon that is known as safety practices. Then the next first one is very known as policy percentage procedures, then planning and schedulings, then work order management. The next one is training and skills. The next important part we have preventive maintenance program inside the organizations, and they have to apply the proactive maintenance for shutdown maintenance programs. They are also go for documentations, and they are implementing safety practices inside the organization. So that is why the whenever you go for maintenance audit, the maintenance audit is focused upon these number of parameters, starting from policy, percentage, procedures, then planning and schedulings. The next one is work orders of management, prevention or preventive maintenance program, then training and skills, then shutdown maintenance programs, proper documentations, and last one is safety practices inside organizations. So after this number of that is known as uh, criteria should be evaluated, they are also focused upon the key performance indicator of maintenance. So let's understand what are the key performance indicators of that is known as maintenance, which is audited during the maintenance audit. The first one is mean time between failure, that means availabilities of machine and equipments. Then number of safety incidents they have to analyze. Then work order completion rate from department to department, then schedule maintenance compliance with respect to preventive, proactive, and known as condition-based maintenance. And they are also go for known as preventive versus reactive maintenance ratios. So these key performance indicator of maintenance should be audited during the maintenance audit process. Moving to next one. The next one is if you go for the maintenance audits when properly and regularly conducted, will following are the benefits of maintenance audits. So let's understand from this particular slide what are the that is known as benefits. So I'll go for point number one. Help in confirming the function is performing towards the objective are set for it. So for example, the maintenance department set the objective to reduce the breakdown. So it basically confirm the function of performing various that is objectives toward the setting of the four objectives. And second important point is that to compare the performance index of the function with that of targets as well as similar benchmark for the industry sector or with the world-class benchmark. So that is why many companies have implemented ISO 9000, ISO 14000, ISO 18000 inside their organizations. So the next important part is to identify the weak area for performance improvements. So as far as the basic concept of maintenance audit, that focus upon the known as support for or the compliance for your improvement. So you have to identify the weak area so that you need to be improved and implement various amount of strategies so that that area should be improved and the percentage of breakdown should be reduced. The next is to get the certified towards the proper system functioning from the auditing agency, which may be requirement of a statutory and standard agency. So that is why most of the cases the company must go for third-party agencies or maybe third-party auditors, and they are basically compliance with the that is known as statutory, which is basically related to law, regulation, policies of various government agency, and they are also implementing various standard agencies, those who are implementing maintenance audit from department to department inside the organizations. And the next important part is they must go for that is known as to apply and obtain the popular award like total productivity maintenance. So total productivity maintenance award is basically includes implementation of ISO 9000, implementation of ISO 14000, which is apply for environmental management systems, The next important part, they are also applied the occupational safety and health assurance system for the employees who are dedicatedly work for the common. By combination of ISO 9000, which is dedicated for product or quality of product or services. The next one is ISO 14000 for environmental management system, ISO 18000 for the occupational health and safety standard of employees. And if you combine these all three standard, it forms the known as total productivity maintenance, which is shortly known as TPM awards. So let's understand the other point of views. If you implement the maintenance audit, what should be the personal benefit those who are involved in case of maintenance audit? The first important part is increase job satisfaction. So if an employee is dedicatedly work for since more than 10 years, so he also got the job satisfaction level. The next one is networking opportunities. They will directly communicate with various amount of the skilled people, those who are in the form of auditors, and they're also gaining lots of knowledge in case of maintenance management. The next one is continuous learning. So auditing is a continuous learning process. So they have to identify the strength, weaknesses, and then opportunity, and what are the threat in case of risk management, especially reference to maintenance audit. The next one is positive impact. So, and the last one is career advancement. The next is enhance professional developments, expand knowledge, improve decision making abilities, the recognition and appreciation should be done, and problem identification skills. So these are the personal benefit when the operation and maintenance audit is conducted inside the organization. But if you observe the other benefit with reference to operation and maintenance audit, that is optimize the process. The next one we have cost savings, enhance safety and compliance, increase equipment lifespan, improve reliabilities, better resource management and allocation should be done, enhance accountabilities, support decision making, compliance with the industry best practices. So under best practices, many companies go for what is known as ISO certifications. And the next is you have to eliminate the risk mitigations to avoid that is known as risk assessment with respect to maintenance management. And the last one is that is known as facility performance benchmarking. So these are the personal benefit as well as the that is known as company benefit whenever you implement the maintenance audit inside your organizations. So moving to next one, the next one is methodologies of maintenance audits. So this maintenance audit is given the number of steps. The first one is initial orientations, then preliminary preparations should be done, then preliminary questionnaire survey should be done, plant visit, data analysis, development of conclusion and recommendation, and the last one is report submission. So these are the that is known as seven number of steps which include in case of maintenance methodologies during the audit process. So we have to understand one by one. In case of that is known as initial orientations, the first important part is that audit team has initial meeting with the representative of the company. Most of the cases, the senior management are the representative of the companies and the regulating agencies. So this is a formal meeting should be done with the top level of management. And in these meetings, they have to go for the goal, scope, coverage, information requirements, schedules, and techniques of the audit to be employed are presented in a summary form. So these are the criteria, and we have to audit these things. They should be clearly defined to the top level of management. The next important part is initial meeting enable both auditing and auditees group to be understand each others. So for better understanding of each others, this is the layer of foundations of your entire maintenance audits. So next one is that is known as preliminary preparation. So this is the second step of your maintenance audit. So here auditor team the management and technical information often in case of initial orientation and prepare a plan for addressing the major concern expressed by the company management or the regulators. And according to the most important area, inquiry are identified and detailed audit visit plan and schedule should be prepared. And the next important part is it covers the area of audit. The second one is identification of management personnel to be interviewed. The next is facilities, what kind of facilities they have, and the work area to be visited, and data requirement should be included in case of these preliminary preparations. The third step we have that is known as preliminary survey or preliminary question surveys. The auditor prepare the detailed questionnaires on the various issues of concerns in the maintenance management. So starting from the goal, objective, process, procedures, the maintenance, the business team, that should be properly questions, and this question is prepared by the business auditor teams and circulate the advance in the company management personnel. So in advance, they will go for circulate it. The questionnaire contains a systematic identification of element, series of questions to be collect information about the same. And the third important part is this questionnaire enables collection of document information from a larger cross section of the target personnel. So for example, a specific department, quality control department facing large amount of difficulty since 4 to 5 years. And during the plan and schedules, during they have made number of questionnaires during the service, and this questionnaire is directly access to the company management personnel. So the answer to the questionnaire are compiled and conclusion are arrived at the selected area, and management personnel to be contracted upon during the next steps. So next step we have that is known as plant visits. So a team of not that is known as focus upon that is known as auditing team is basically go for field visit, and during the field visit they will interview many personnel. So who are the personnel? Senior manager, maintenance supervisor, maintenance technicians, and they have to identify the first-hand feeling of the management factors and concern and the feelings. So during this visit, additional information required in the terms of work process, plant performance parameters, operation maintenance interaction is also collected. The next is in some special audit, plant visit are also taken up for comparable third parties. Most of the cases, they can assign a third party companies, those who have conducted the comparative analysis of system and technical parameter with reference to maintenance, with reference to the known as plant performance parameters, work process, operation maintenance interactions, all the things to be done by the third parties. And at the end of plant visit, the auditing team would have the data essential for understanding the company maintenance strategy, challenges, and plan. The fifth stage, we have data analysis. So here they are using various amount of statistical tools to analyze the data. So during this stage, the audit and study the team reviews, digest, summarize, analyze all data and information gathered. So profile of maintenance management performance are developed and compared to the company past performance and to the performance of industries and to similar companies. So here what will happen? They have to go for the study the team reviews, then digest, summarize, analyze the data and information gathered. So here the all the of maintenance management performance are developed and compared to the other industries, those who are similar to these particular companies. The next important part is that many of the criteria used to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency can be measured quantitatively in the terms of cost and savings, man hours, percentage adhered to schedules or budget, energy consumptions, reliabilities, availability of machine equipment, and so on. So truly comparable benchmark may not be readily available. And the last important point of this data analysis is that accordingly, the auditor must consider the company performance within the context of its unique environment. Season judgments, both in case of tempering qualitative evaluations and measure less tangible performance factor must be used. So here both qualitative and quantitative measures are calculated, and when the auditor is evaluate this data, they must go for, I repeat, reviews, digest, summarize, analyze all the data which is informed gathered, especially reference to maintenance management performance, effectiveness, and evaluation should be done. Moving to next one, the sixth number of steps. So develop of conclusions and recommendations. So based on the above evaluations, auditing team develop the conclusion about the efficiency and effectiveness of the maintenance management system. So here what will happen, the factors are basically observed to be example of good management practice are listed with supporting evidence and data, and thus conclusion strength of the system are identified. So they initially identify the key strength area and best management practices. Similarly, they go for the possible source of problems are also identified. So they are also identify the weaknesses and document if possible. They will go for the consequence with the help of evidence and data. If the problem are not tackled, that is known as tackle, are also listed. And finally, they go for alternative strategies to overcome this problem or identify, evaluate to the index or indicate the most suitable option for the problem solving. So the first important part is they will go for the key strength of the maintenance management system. They will also identify the inefficiency of maintenance management system, and they will provide the that is known as plan of action for maintenance management systems. Moving to next one. The next one is report submissions. So the audit team prepared the comprehensive report, which is shortly known as draft report, indicating the scope of audit, methodology adopted, information gathered, analysis performed, recommendations arrive at the result of the audits. So normally a draft report, as I told, is submitted to ascertain the feedback of the company management, and final report is incorporating the suggestion and feedbacks are also mentioned in the report submission. So this report submission basically to the top level of management, where they can provide large amount of that is known as feedbacks, which includes that is key strength of the companies, weaknesses of the companies, area for improvement or criteria for improvement. Various amount of suggestion and feedback should be given in the report submission. So last point, the report submission is often accomplished by the direct presentation to the management. So if you observe this particular image, how the auditor is represent the entire things to the top level of management, so that he can understand what are the difficulty in case of maintenance management system, and immediately they go for implementing the suggestion as well as the requirement of involvement of auditor further also can be discussed. So this is all about the report submission. The next important part is, this is a typical example of a maintenance audit report. What are the basic content is included in case of maintenance audit? First important part is organization name should be included. Audit conducted by a person, individuals or agency, their name should be mentioned. Date of audit should be mentioned, and audit period. So as I told, the audit process should be start from first month to maximum 18 month. So the duration of audit period should be mentioned. The next important part is the location of plant organization should be mentioned, or they must include the facilities or plant or the name of the site, and the report submission date should be mentioned. So what are the content of your maintenance audit? The first one is they will provide the executive summary. So executive summary is the mirror of the entire maintenance audit report, and they are directly briefing with a paragraph in case of entire, that is the summarized report of entire maintenance audit. The next important content is known as objective of audit. So it basically include the evaluation or evaluate the effectiveness of the preventive and corrective maintenance. The third content we have that is known as scope of audit. That means they have include the mechanicals and electrical equipment maintenance key performance indicators and reportings. The next one is maintenance methodologies, or that is audit methodology should be included. That means document reviews. The next one is interview with the maintenance staff and how they conduct the interview. That basically includes the questionnaires to conduct large amount of interviews, and proper evidence of documents should be properly reviewed. The next one is finding and observations. And in the finding and observation, they will directly provide the entire report to the top level of management, and they will provide the key strength of maintenance management system, weaknesses of maintenance management systems. The next important part is that is known as the observation what they have made against a number of departments. They will indicate in case of findings and observation. The next one is key performance indicators. So as far as concerned with key performance indicator, which basically includes mean time between failures, the number of safety incidents. The next one is support for improved opportunities. The next one is preventive versus proactive maintenance. All the key performance indicators should be mentioned in case of this particular criteria. The next one is they will provide the recommendation for that is known as computerized maintenance management system, which is shortly known as CMMS trainings, enhanced safety protocols, upgrade spare parts management, and finally they will provide the conclusion. So these are the content which is basically included in case of maintenance audit reports. Moving to next one. The next one is study of key result areas. So as far as concerned with the maintenance audit, The first key area they will focus that is known as maintenance cost. So here, so major cost factors ratio that need to be analyzed. The first important cost that is known as total maintenance cost to budget, maintenance cost for unit outputs, maintenance cost for sales, maintenance cost for asset values, and contractor cost ratio to the maintenance cost. These costs are basically analyzed in case of maintenance audit. The next important part is maintenance material management performance. So here the factor ratio related to maintenance materials like spare parts management performance are material consumption value to total maintenance cost values, inventory turnover, number of stock outs, material inventory value to equipment replacement values, purchase value to issue values are basically analyzed. The next important part we have performance of plant and equipment maintenance. So here ratio that represent the plant or equipment maintenance performance are downtime ratio, spare parts per consumable consumption ratios, redundancy in equipments, design life to replacement life ratio are analyzed. So next key area we have that is known as maintenance organization performance. So as far as concerned with the company point of views, so they are also analyze the organizational performance of maintenance management is measured by the ratio of maintenance manpower to asset values, plant maintenance work to unplanned maintenance work, backlog by the craft, maintenance to non-maintenance work, line to staff support ratio, percentage job weightings, ratio of work order hour to standard hour are basically analyzed under maintenance organization performance. The next key result area are maintenance management process. So through the maintenance benchmark or performance parameters, give the audit teams comparable idea about the status. So due to requirement of standard definitions for this ratio, sometimes become difficulty to draw the careful conclusions. So here they will focus upon the various process parameter of maintenance management, which are first one is visions and leadership of maintenance management departments. The next one is maintenance organization structures, starting from the top to functional level of management. And the last important part they will include that is known as spare parts management process. So these are the key that is known as process parameter, which is included in case of maintenance management process. Moving to next one. The next one is IT or information system used for the maintenance. So here, whenever you think about the information technology system used in for maintenance, so these are invariable taking the assistant for information technology. So that means computerized maintenance management system, which is shortly known as CMS, should be assistant in case of maintenance management. So an audit will look for ideal features of CMMC systems and the extent the use of system and utilization of its fullest capabilities should be noted during the maintenance audit. The next important part we have preventive maintenance systems. So the use of preventive maintenance should be proactive manner to identify and correct the equipment deficiency or machine deficiency in advance rather than reactive problem solving. So preventive maintenance systems should be checked for optimum deployment of resources via which achievement of target equipment availabilities. So here they are basically focused upon that is known as proactive manner to rectify various problems arise in case of a breakdown or deficiency of machine and equipments. The next important part or the key is result area of maintenance audit that is known as predictive maintenance system. So use of modern condition monitoring. So condition monitoring is basically enhanced with large amount of sensors, CCTV surveillance, condition monitoring through the web or IoTs or maybe AI. So here you have to go for analysis of vibration, analysis of oil conditions, and they are also encouraged in case of preventive maintenance so that the availability of machines as well as the equipment is automatically increased. So in the modern era, it's basically outsource export or third-party agency are basically conducted for sophisticated preventive maintenance practice inside the organizations. The next key area that is known as maintenance planning and schedule through the work order system. So here what will happen, the work order system, whether they should go for computerized means or otherwise, should be carefully planned and implement so that the system enables smooth performance of the maintenance requirements. So while simultaneously capturing the necessary information for management analysis. So as far as concerned with the purchase department of any organization, they carefully analyze the computerized system for various work order who are dedicatedly enabled for various amount of maintenance requirements. In case of spare parts, in case of purchase of machines or purchase of new that is known as equipments. So here what will happen, they will basically capturing various amount of information for management analysis. The next key result area is operation maintenance interface. So whenever you talk about the operation maintenance interface, we are always focused upon the philosophy and technique like total productive maintenance, which is shortly known as TPM, or you must go for reliability center maintenance, which is not shortly known as RCM, have made the requirement of operation maintenance cooperations and interface for extremely important requirement for continuous development and sustainability developments. For continuous development, if you apply that is known as total productivity maintenance, that means you are basically enable the preventive as well as proactive maintenance to reduce the breakdown percentage. The next important part for sustainability development, starting from the economic scales, environmental scale, as well as that is known as social scale to be interface in between operation and maintenance. So these are the key result area of maintenance management. The next we have, so I repeat, in case of the most result area after the audit, they will provide first one is maintenance cost. I repeat, the second one is maintenance material management performance. The third one is performance of plant and equipment maintenance. The next one, maintenance organization performance. The next one is maintenance management process, who are basically focused upon the process parameter like vision and leaderships. Thank you.